hostel. And in that moment, in a very, 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 very long time, I wasn't anxious. I wasn't worried. Like before I became Muslim, I think I spent a lot of my time being worried. Like everything worried me. Like I had such bad anxiety. Like what if I go in the street and this thing happens? What if I do this and this happens? And then once I discovered Islam, once I became Muslim, it was the remedy to my anxiety. It was the thing that I'd been searching for so long to stop me from feeling anxious all the time and worried all the time, because I learned tawakkul. I learned about having faith in God, about having faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That feeling was what actually drew me to Islam. I grew up in the UK. I grew up in a very poor family. My dad's side of the family were what you call like traveller gypsies. We grew up in a council house. It's like very poor housing in the UK. I grew up very tough. We were very poor. It wasn't until later in my life when I started looking into being an actress that I started actually like learning how to talk properly and learning how to present myself. And now I'm Muslim, alhamdulillah, and that's the highlight of my life. I say no because I wasn't religious. I didn't have a religion, but I had faith. In difficult moments, I would find myself talking to God. I didn't know what God was, who God is, but I would, if I was in a difficult scenario, I would be like, God, can you please help me? I probably wouldn't use the word God, but yeah, I believed in a higher power, but I never really properly thought about it. I never told anyone that I believed. I was one of those people. It was when I was in Turkey, and it was when I was in Blue Mosque, Sultan Ahmed, I think you guys call it. That's when I started really seeing into religion for the first time. I'd experienced other religions, but not to the depth that I experienced Islam. Other religions, I just kind of read about them, but Islam I experienced through feeling. From being inside the mosque, from hearing the azan, it was completely different. I had lots of prejudices, but they were subconscious. I never thought of myself as an Islamophobe. I never thought I didn't like a group of people. I was always trying to be kind. I was trying to be a good person. But yeah, I did have prejudices. When I first came to Turkey, I remember my granny said to me, please don't go to a Muslim country. Please, just don't go. She thought something was going to happen to me. And when she told me, don't go, it's a Muslim country, I was like, honestly, I got scared. I definitely did have that notion. When I first visited a mosque in Turkey, I thought the people were going to tell me I can't go in. I thought that they were going to, laugh at me. They were going to stare at me in a negative way. I expected the worst when I went into a mosque for the first time. In LA, I went to a nightclub and somebody spiked my drink. And that same night, I ended up in hospital because somebody tried to kidnap me, pretty much. Someone tried to kidnap me while I was in LA. And after that moment, I remember waking up in the hospital. I had makeup all down my face. I was in an awful state. And I remember thinking, why did I do this to myself? Like, I've always been against alcohol. Why have I started getting in this life? But the worst part was, after that, I didn't stop. I carried on partying, not as much as my friends, a little bit here and there. And when I came to Turkey with bad intentions. I didn't have good intentions when I came here. So Allah really waited until I'd lost my whole self, pretty much, to the extent that I was looking for plastic surgery. I was actually trying to change myself. Allah waited until I lost my whole self until Allah. I think for me, the biggest thing that actually got me thinking about Islam seriously was when I did tasbih for the first time. So when I saw people in Turkey doing tasbih, I saw so many people doing it. I thought they were stress beads. That's what I used to call them. I used to call my mum. I'd be like, people in Turkey, they do stress beads. It's so cool, mum. So when I actually Googled for the first time what you're supposed to say when you do it, and I learned about Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, Allahu Akbar, and I learned the meaning of these words, and I started doing it for the first time, there was another moment on top of that that was really special. And that was a moment that happened after I did tasbih for the first time. And that was a moment when I was coming out of the mosque, Blue Mosque here in Istanbul. And I stood between Blue Mosque and Hagia Sophia. That's where I heard the azan for the first time. I mean, I'd heard it before, but this is when I really heard it. Like, I actually stopped and listened to the azan. Because when you're standing between those two mosques, it's so loud. The azan is so loud. And I remember standing there and just hearing the azan and thinking, wow, that is so beautiful. That is so peaceful. My first experience inside Blue Mosque. After that, I went back to the hostel and I started reading the Quran. There was an English translation inside my hostel. So I picked that up and I started reading. And I read probably around 5 pages of Surah Baqarah. I was just reading. And I remember I took pictures on my phone of any ayats I found interesting. And after that, I just kept learning. I kept reading the Quran. I had no intention to become Muslim, but I kept doing these things just because I was interested. Something sparked my interest. I wanted to know what was going on. I come back to UK. I carried on learning. As soon as I come back to UK, lockdown happened. But subhanAllah, lockdown happened, and lockdown forced me in my house with my phone, with my computer, with my books. And I read, and I just read, I learned, I watched lectures. I did this all at home. I didn't know any Muslims. I was by myself the entire journey. And I still wasn't planning on becoming Muslim. What really sparked it for me was when I actually started praying. I thought, I'm going to try this because, like I said, I was really into self-help. And I thought, if someone can get up for Fajr, like, that makes them have amazing self-control. So that's what I started doing. I started using praying to help me gain control over my days. Doing that, and then Ramadan came, and I was like, I'm going to really try and get self-control. I'm going to try Ramadan. My mum did not want me to. Like, she honestly thought I was going to die. She said, you cannot do this, you will die. She was so mad at me for trying. So I was doing Ramadan in secret, and I could not believe I was doing it. I honestly didn't expect to be able to do it. I started doing Ramadan, and that's when the actual belief started to come to me. It stopped being about dunya gains, about myself, and it started being about Allah, because during Ramadan, I was just like focused. I was fasting, I was praying, and between that, I was just learning about Islam. That was all I was doing with my time. I think it was leaving my old life behind. Like, that was really scary for me, because I knew once I become Muslim, there was no going back to the person I was. The thoughts of how my family would feel, that was really scary. Changing my entire career that I'd worked on for 10 years and lived and slept and ate. Like, my whole life was my career. Like, every decision I ever made was based on working in film, being an actress, all these things that I wanted to do. These were all things that were like really intimidating to me. I didn't take Shahada in a formal way. I didn't do it in a mosque. I did it during COVID, during lockdown, in my living room. So my mom, when I first converted to Islam, she came up to me with her Google searches of things that she'd Googled. And they were concerns. They were, I guess, genuine concerns, but mostly fake news, conspiracy theories that she'd found. And she was not happy. She used the word terrorist a lot, to be honest. She used to say to me, if you go to a mosque, be careful, someone might recruit you. Like, she genuinely thought there'll be men waiting for me outside that were going to recruit me to be a part of their I don't know. It's news, it's media, it's what she thought. I lost a lot of friends. There's still a lot of people that don't talk to me. One of my friends messaged me on Facebook and he said, "Are you doing this for a guy? Are you being intimidated? What's going on?" Like, he genuinely thought I was in a scary situation. And my family is just really weird around me because they don't know how to act. They think I've gone crazy. I think for me, and I always advocate this, is learning. Constantly growing with your knowledge is what keeps me in the religion, and it keeps me good in the religion. And I think people who convert to Islam, more than ever, they need to be the ones that keep learning constantly. I think if you stop learning for too long, that's why people leave the religion. I think they spend too much time not learning, not growing, and they just kind of just become stable. And they're like, why am I doing this? And they forget because they haven't been reminded, because they're not actively learning, they're not watching things, they're not reading things. So I recommend doing that. I don't think there's a universal best way because everyone's different. And I think all of us in the Ummah, we're all part of a big jigsaw puzzle. We all play an important part of that. Every single person. Even if you've never made dawah in your entire life, you're still an important part of that puzzle because our actions are dawah. Everyone says the dawah of actions is the most positive. I believe that.